Hello, everybody. Good morning. We believe you in West African time. If not, good day wherever you are. We're happy to have you this morning. Please, just to confirm that we can all hear the conversation and that this is clear, please just type into the chat that you can hear. Is this audible, please? Yes or no? Sounds good. Thank you, Maurice, for that. I believe we can all hear. So I would like us to wait for about possibly 4 minutes, and then we should be expecting more people to join. So if we can all please put off our video, that would be amazing. So we can just focus on the slide that we'll be sharing. And if you have any question, please just type it into the chat at this point in time. At the end of the slide we're going to go through, we'll be taking these questions and answering them. I have my colleagues as well who would also be answering some of these questions. I have Opoyemi and then Taiwo and Doing as well. So feel free to ask any questions you have in mind. We'll be more than excited to answer. So we would commence officially in the next 2 minutes. Please take your time, be comfortable. We are seeing more people joining, so that's amazing. Please let's mute all of our calls. Okwemi, if we can also just try to mute everyone's call, that would be fantastic, please. Thank you so much for complying, everyone. Yeah. Isaac, please can you also mute your call? We can still hear a sound from someone. Please, can we mute our calls? Yep. Oh, can we mute the calls, please? I think we can still hear a sound. Yeah, thank you all for complying to that. That's amazing. Yeah, okay. So now we're going to commence. We're showing from my screen, which I believe we should be seeing anytime from now. First of all, we know this is an unprecedented time due to the current COVID-19 season, and we truly hope that you're keeping safe with the family as well. Please do keep safe, stay at home as much as you can, and let's support our health workers as much as possible as well. So now we can see the screen. We're going to talk about the Stutern graduate acceleration training, which is our training method, which is the goal is ultimately to help get more people skilled in different technological field and then place them into jobs. That is this. So we're going to go into that. We're going to talk more about what this is about, and we're again happy to have you ask your questions. Please, if you have questions, just send it to the chat. We would be more than happy to do that. So the SGA, which is the Student Graduate Accelerator, is majorly designed to help train a number of young candidates who are done with universities, who are seeking the next transition for the career, or who have zero skill in any of these fields. So we have a pipeline from training to employment, which is we are able to work with a number of employers and we're able to train candidates in this skill set. We're going to also go through our faculty in terms of the tutors who are taking the courses. We're going to go through the previous candidates as well who have gone through our classes as well. That would also be amazing. So to commence, we have been able to graduate more than 50. Now we can actually say more than 50 candidates. Many of them who have just finished university. Some of them who who were previously working in a particular field of study, but then transitioned to another field entirely based on different reasons. But we obviously know there's a demand for more technologically skilled candidates in terms of developers, designers, data engineers, for example. So we have employers in Nigeria majorly, but we also have employers in Ghana. And we've also seen candidates who have been placed to companies in Canada, in the US, in Dubai, um, and in many of the companies that we can ever imagine. And one thing all these people have in common, um, please can we mute a mic? That would be amazing, Isaac. One thing they have in common is they all had the drive to learn. I think that's the one takeaway anyone takes it from the class, which is we teach you how to learn. And this is not just, oh, we still have someone talking on the mic, please. Can we just mute that possibly? Isaac, hello, please. Ayoko, please help coordinate the audio noise. We're getting from Isaac.
I think you can mute Isaac's video if you're the host there. I think you can just jump into his profile and mute it.
That's a good point, Corey. I'm actually not the host here, which is, that would have been amazing. Ayoko, I mean, I'm talking to someone on my team who is actually the host for the call. We can mute this call. Yeah. Thanks, Geoff. That's amazing. Okay, so while we continue, one thing they all have in common is they all have the drive to learn. And this is not just what we do alone. I think it's what we do with tutors, but also with the students as well. Just being able to come to the class, willing to learn. And that drive has helped many people commence with the class, but also end the class as well. So we have employers from different fields, from financial sector, from product companies, or from banking, from health, and education, pretty much all the fields you can imagine. And so far, this is, we've been able to, this was based on a stat for 2018. So this is not updated with the 2019 stats, for example, or 2020. But as of 2018, we were able to enroll 55 candidates. We have over 800 going to 200 at this point in time. Out of that, 47 finished the class, so which meant not everyone will actually enroll 10 to graduate. So it's one thing to comment, it's something that's entitled to actually graduate from the class. And those who were hired, we have over 40% that were hired from the class. Some people dropped out from those who actually joined the class, and just a few, maybe just one person was not hired. And we've seen these, we're constantly working to make sure that those who join the class tend to finish the class, because the goal is to make sure they get to their end. And we also have the class built based on building projects, making sure we can measure each person's performance. So the way the class is structured, we have the faculty, we have a tutor, but we also have as well the teaching assistants, making sure it's personalized learning altogether. And many people leave the class getting the first job, earning about 150,000 naira, which is roughly about $500 if you convert it sometimes. So that's about the average monthly salary. And many of those people, before they even got to the class, were not earning up to this at all. They were earning maybe half of that before then. So we've seen this transition improving their livelihood, improving how much they can earn, just giving them the hope that there is a skill that they can actually build a career on as well. And that has been fantastic. So we've seen our employers who we've not even worked with, but will tend to interview and speak with our candidates, and they've been very impressed on the quality of the candidates we've been having in the class. So this is a company that got into Y Combinator, and they were very impressed. They've gone on to hire 2 of our candidates from after this class, so which has been amazing. So currently we offer 6 major courses, from UI UX design, which is user interface and user experience design, to data engineering, then front-end development, data science and machine learning, software engineering, which is more of the full stack, and then we have Android development. And we work with different tutors who are in the industry, who are currently fully employed by different companies, making sure that whatever is being taught is very well applicable to the work, to the industry. And what we do, we are the middle of education, in more of the skills, but also career services. We don't just help people get the skills, but we also help them prepare for the interviews in terms of the soft skills needed, the cover letter, the civil writing. We see these as a full bouquet that is necessary, making sure that we're able to hire the best instructors who have the passion for teaching. That's important as well. So a typical process that's also on our website is people tend to apply. After the application, meet us in person, but that is changing now. The meet us in person is now turning into a call or a Zoom call, for example. And to join into the class, they make a deposit to join the class. And then we're going to talk more about the financial part very soon. And at the end of the day, we're able to take them to the class, the build project. They will go through different milestones, working on client's project, and they go for an internship, which then mostly transitions into jobs, for example. So in terms of the tutor, we have 2 options. The first option is a zero tuition at the beginning, which is typically, which is not exactly zero tuition here, which is more of the pay 75,000 naira, which at this point is about a small fraction of the entire cost. But this sign them up for an income share agreement, which means when they get a job, you can actually pay 15% of your income back on a monthly basis for the next 24 months. So we see this method being so helpful for those who are unable to afford the full tuition, which you're going to come to. Second option is instrumental payments. People can pay within 3 to 4 months, paying a fraction of the full amount, and that ends up being a full amount. At the end of the course, they won't have to pay back Stutern because they've paid the full tuition, even though it was broken into different months. And then we have the full tuition. We also have people who are going for this more nowadays, and that's about 30,000 naira, which is VAT inclusive as well. And people tend to go for this amount if they just want to pay the full tuition upfront, and that is always very welcome, obviously. And the way the class is paced, we have it in 16 weeks. We have an offline campus in Lagos, which is in Bagada, but it's been closed down since the middle of the month because of the current pandemic. And that for us hasn't changed almost anything because we've always had our lectures online. And that means we have tutors who are always online. We've never had tutors in class since this is about our 8th batch. So from the first batch was the first offline we had. From the second batch has already been online. So the changing of the lecture from offline to online is not in any way changing our method of learning. We're still seeing people finishing well because that has always been the case. And we use tools like Slack to communicate. We're able to use tools like Trello to manage the pace of the class. We have platforms where we have the courses in terms of the video, the slides, and we also have TAs assigned to a number of students, making sure the ratio between the learners and the teachers is not crazy, and it's very amicable, I would say. And the way the classes are structured, we're working now, which we still constantly work with tutors to update the videos, whereby we have videos that are recorded. And these videos are hosted on a platform that we do use. And then we also have these videos as well converted into PDF, making sure those who don't have good internet access can always go to the slides and follow the video, more like a transcript of the video. And those who don't have internet can either watch the video online or actually download the videos on the computer. And before the next class videos comes on, a student must have completed a task for the previous class, must again have been available for a live lecture, lecture with a tutor after the video or must have been posted to go through the video, talk about the learnings, for example. That is very important. And thirdly, we have the teaching assistant as well, who are able to also come back and talk with students about what they've learned and wherever they're having gaps. So apart from this, we also have it very project-based, and this is important because with a project-based learning, students can actually build project, can build products, can build platforms based on the things you're learning. And that's the way we see it's best taught, because many of the people we've worked with, as even our tutors, they've been able to build projects that have the got started with learning and not just a theory. And like we spoke as well, we have a career advisory which gives people access to interviewing options, resume writing, and being able to speak with employers even before the end of the class. And one thing we've also seen, which has been amazing, is that many students get even offers before the class ends. And that's something very impressive that we've seen happen so far. And this is ongoing constantly. After the graduation, as a final project, the students also tend to work with clients. So we have a number of partnership and alliance with different companies who are constantly hiring and who are always looking to pick the best candidate from the class. And this starts from a client project, which typically is remote based. First of all, we then convert it to an internship, and then when that's also a success, which we believe typically are the case, and which we want to be the case often, many of them then tend to start fully working with the employer. And being a post-SGA or SG alumni also means we have students, we have access to learning resources that we always share with our alumni. We have meetup that we do host, and we are constantly building up and making sure we can have this robust learning resource for our candidates constantly. The next class would be commencing in May. And to apply, it's to simply go to this website, accelerator.student.com. With this website, you're able to access the first application. You're going to be given tasks to work on. Based on the task, we're going to review and send you feedback. So we always do test people before they start with the class. And that doesn't mean that if a student has zero skill, they can get in. But with this test, we also give them resources that if the students can carefully study, will help improve and even improve the chances of these students being in the class. It's important. And the way the test is designed is more like even the first year of the class, is to see how can a student learn? Can this student learn? Making sure we have the learners starting from almost a similar learning base and pace is important. And we have tutors. Many of tutors we also retaining. We have tutors from from different companies in Nigeria and out of Nigeria. We have tutors from Team Apt, which is a software development company based in Africa here. We have Andela, which I believe we very well know, which is also a talent accelerator and software development company as well, based in Nigeria, different African countries, and also in New York. We have Jostla, which is Nigeria based. We have Spotify, which is based in Sweden. We have a tutor there as well who works closely with Stutern. We have Nevoda, we have based in Nigeria. We have Piggyvest based in Africa as well, headquartered in Nigeria. We have Career Foundry based in Germany. We have a tutor who also takes the course as well. And then we have Eden, which is based in Nigeria as well. So all the students brings diversity of experience, and they have one thing in common, which is a passion to give back, a passion to teach, a passion to educate, and make sure that possibly a student from the class could be the next colleague. And we've seen that happen in many ways. We've had Piggyvest interview many of the candidates and taken a number of them to join them. And this is a continued trend that we're seeing and that we would always love to see. That's about it for this webinar. And we are at this point happy to take your questions. Please keep the questions coming. If we can put the questions in the chat, I believe we have some questions already. So I'm gonna go through them now. And if you wanna also jump on the mic, let's first take the questions on the chat first of all, and if need be, just make sure that it's not rowdy, and to make sure that we don't have connectivity issues. We're happy to take questions via chat for now. So we hope that we've been able to cover the parts that we all need to learn about the accelerator today, and we are going to go through the questions one by one at this point. Yeah, someone asked if this would be recorded for future reference. Yes, this is being recorded and it will be sent out to as many people who registered for this webinar. Thank you, Ayobami. So Manny asked, I was saying that many people get placed into jobs, or will link people to opportunities? That's a good question. So we see things based on what has happened previously from the class. This happens in two ways. One is we have a pool of employers who are always looking to employ the best ends. So what we can do is, one, to help train a candidate. Secondly, is to do an introduction. So we can confirm the employment. All we can do is to get these the fantastic, brilliant, and driven students and learners the footstep or the doorstep of these employers. They're the ones who will interview. They're the ones who will ask the questions. They're the ones who will give the task to confirm if this person is going to be the best for their team as well. So that's one way. Second way is we always advise and tell our students as well to update their LinkedIn, to constantly apply for jobs. And this has been tremendous in many ways, because many of the people who were placed in companies, I wouldn't say we've placed, they actually placed themselves in companies in, say, in Dubai, in Canada, in US, in UK. They were the ones who went out to apply for themselves. They were the ones who started a conversation, and then we only came in to tell them, these are the few things you should adjust, for example. And some as well just did it on their own fully 100%. And that is the drive that we always love to see. Yeah, so we're able to connect people to opportunities, but we also advise our learners to actively apply for jobs out there. And this is also made or emphasized by the fact that we help people with interview preparation. We help people with the questions that will possibly come out, working closely with the tutors, making sure they can give, not a cheat, obviously, but just give an idea of what that scenario will look like. And that greatly improves the chances of getting the jobs. Please, can we mute the mic? I think we still have a mic that is not super clear. That would be amazing. Thank you. Thank you. Another question is, okay, Miwa said came for the front-end development class. Miwa, that's amazing. Okay, someone said, please, how long does, this is Thelma. Thelma asked, how long does the internship last for, and will there be certification at the end of the training? Also, what are the chances that there will be offline lectures at Bagada? Good questions. So these are about 3 questions. Internship typically lasts for about 4 weeks for the internship, based on the, so the 4 weeks will be for the internship typically, and this sometimes transition into a full-time employment for some people, obviously not all. With the certification, yes, we do. Honestly, we see certification important, but we think what's more important is actually the skills you take away from the class. But we definitely give certification as well, which is not something we do before, but it's something our alumni started asking for. So we do get that as well. And in terms of, are we going to have offline classes in Bagada? Yeah, we're happy to have, but that would be after the stay at home that we're seeing is like a global holiday. And so that will be after this pandemic is over, because at this point in time, the only way we can contain the COVID-19 is to all try as much as possible to stay at home and have social distancing, and making sure that we can actually flatten the curve. So at this point, no classes in Bagada or any offline. Even on the team, we are all using Slack to communicate, and that means with access to power and internet, we're able to all work and learn. Oyinda Mola asks, the task or test is... Oh, yeah, please go for that.
Sorry,
yeah.
Please, before you move on to the next question, let me just add to the response to Thelma's question. Please so for the lectures, once we're able to overcome the pandemic, yes, you would be able to come to the offline space at Bagada, but you would not be having lectures with your tutor offline. All lectures hold online, but the only offline presence that we'll be having are in form of Ask Me Anything sessions that we usually have with the teaching assistants. So every teaching assistant is required to come into the offline space to address the student and address any questions they might have at least twice a month offline. So whatever offline presence you'll be having would be with the teaching assistants and not the tutors. Thanks, Kay.
Thank you, Opoyemi. That's perfect. So like Opoyemi mentioned, we don't have tutor interaction, physical in classes. For anyone who come into the Bagada space after this is over, the pandemic, would only have access to power, internet, and a projector to learn, and also a community of learners. Yeah, that's good. Oyindamola asked a question, the task or test, is it part, I'm here to understand, I'm here to learn, and the first thing I'm being asked to do is a test. Okay, that's a good point, Oyindamola. Like we said about these, the task is not just for those who have the skills, but with the task, provided with this task are also resources that would help anyone learn. So we also have a Slack channel that supports anyone taking a task, whereby you can ask questions. The job of the task is to be sure that when we come to the class, we can actually learn. What the task is testing for is anyone's ability to learn. So the task is not overly complicated, and the task is majorly to test one's ability to learn, making sure when one comes to the class, one can actually start learning. So you don't need to have 100% or even 20% or 10% of the skill for the particular course you're taking. The way the task is designed is to be sure that everyone who's joining the class would be able to learn from the very first day. And we have a community. Once you apply to take this task, we have a Slack channel that's created, making sure we can support you, we can answer your questions, we can refer you to the right resources, for example. So don't be afraid to take this task. It's not a tough task, I would say. Yeah, it's not a tough task, yeah. So the next question I'm going through, when you say 15% of salary for the next 2 years, that means it's static despite the amount here. Yes, 50% is the percentage we have for that. However, we always review with our learners, those who get a job, to be sure that this is comfortable for them, even though they're learning way or way high above these. We've always had the chance to talk with people and learn how that impacts their livelihood, which is important. Yeah. So when does the offline classes start? Because not everyone has constant. This is by Abby. Not everyone has constant and stable internet to keep learning offline. That's a good question. At the class, we are able to provide the power and internet to make sure that everyone can access the learning materials. And these classes will commence once we're able to know where this would resume back in Bagada in Lagos State once we are able to confirm that we can all go back to work at this point in time. Because before the pandemic, we were running up with a class as well, with a couple of classes all together in the space. But at this point in time, we all have to be at home. So we don't know the date that this will be over, but we hope it's going to be soon. And once this is over, then we can all get back into the spaces we always love to come to. Someone asked, Franklin, can a person get into the program without paying any amount and begin payment immediately he secures a job? It's a compulsory that everyone pays an amount to come into the class. So in the past, we've been able to have some form of waiver, but also in the past, we've also been able to secure scholarship for candidates. We've seen increased more in encouraging girls or ladies or women to learn how to code, just to encourage gender equality. So we've seen scholarship supporting and financing education, and we hoping that is going to increase. But anyone coming to the class, like we said, have 3 different options. One is to pay the sum of 72,000 with a VAT to come into the class and do an ISA. The other one is to pay instrumentally, and the last would be to pay the full tuition itself. Jay said, is a copper until 2021. Does this create any complications? Jay, let's talk about this. If we can pick this conversation up, we still like to ask some other questions about that. We've also seen core members join the class in the past, and we've had to say no and yes to a few people based on the flexibility, making sure that a learner can actually devote the time to learn. It's important to create a time to finish the task, to learn, take our time to learn individually. So we would have to do that as well for these before we can say yes or no. The next question, what is the schedule for offline classes in Lagos? This varies. So we typically start a day with a task, and then it goes on to a particular day with you just personalized learning based on the resources. And the next day would be with a tutor, which would be a Zoom call typically. And then we have the teaching assistants always there to help the group they are assigned to. And we have teaching assistants who are also working full-time in different places. We have many of the teaching assistants, also some of our alumni, so they know what the class feels like. They're able to come into your shoe to experience and encourage and let you into the things that you can actually take away whenever you're stuck. Next question. Can you please shed more light into what courses you currently offer to get started as a data analyst and professional? So for the courses itself, to shed more light into that, so let me go back to the slide where we have the courses splitted, and we're going to go through that quickly. So for the UI UX design, we cover from the user. So this is majorly questions about the data analyst. I think that will be the data science or data engineering. So we work closely with employers in these fields who are constantly looking to hire talents in this space, making sure we can learn from the basic to the junior level that can get anyone into the job. And that means the latest technology, the latest tools and softwares, from learning how to use AWS to Kubernetes, for example. So that's pretty much applicable to the industry that we are in. And that applies to all the other courses we hold, making sure that whatever is being taught are applicable to the workforce. And we start from the very basic to what will get you as a junior level developer or engineer or designer, as the case may be, based on the course. Yeah, this question was asked before by Jay, that's been answered. The next one, if I choose the offline option, what is the flexibility of my attending? Perhaps if I have a job, I'm indisposed to attend. How does that affect me, provided I keep up with the task? For the offline option or online option, the whole goal is a good question, David. The whole goal is being able to keep up with the class, submit your project, make sure that whatever feedback are given based on each task, you have the time to go review them or submit them again. Yeah. The next one is, at this point, I will cut the questions out, and Okoyemi can also answer some of these questions. Okoyemi, would you like to take the other questions at this point?
All right, thank you, Kay. So the next is from Olamileko, and is asking 15% of 100K for the next 2 years is altogether with the initial payment 315,000. Okay, so I understand your question, and so for the percentage, why it's percentage based is so that there's a sort of equality with everyone, regardless of how much you earn. And looking at our database, looking at the alumni from previous classes, you might start out with a 100K salary, but after a few months, because you would have improved your skills, you have more experience, most people then move on to either other jobs or stay in their present jobs, and then they're able to request for more, and they're able to earn even more than that, which they started with. So most likely you would have paid up to the initial tuition fee, or most times even more than. I hope that answers your question, Olamileko. Daniel says, what is the criteria to qualify for the internship? So the internship comes in form of a client's project, and that's after very much towards the end of the program. It's one of the very last requirements. And by then you have to have completed a number of tasks during the program, your daily challenges, mini tasks, personal projects, capstone projects, intertrack projects, as many projects as they come. You have to have completed all this as their prerequisites to going on the client's project. And then it's also important that by the time, before we go on the client's project, which is the internship period, you have to have your portfolio ready, either as a data scientist, an Android engineer, a software engineer, UI UX designer, whichever one. Your portfolio has to be ready, your CV and your resume also has to be ready, as well as at least a cover letter template. J. Will says, your calculations may be wrong. Okay, that's to Alabi. I'm a newbie backend C# ASP.NET Core. Do you offer my stack in your internship placement? So this is not, the internship placement is just a part of it. It's more of the training part, and no, at the moment we don't do C#. So for software engineering, what we do is HTML, CSS, JavaScript, React. And for Android, it's a Java-based curriculum. UI UX design, we teach using Adobe XD. And why we use Adobe XD is because Adobe XD has an offline version. It runs offline as opposed to Figma that only runs online. But there are similar technologies, and along the way, you would also be able to pick up Figma. And for data science, we teach using R and Python. That's what we currently do. And how long does this class last? So typically we have 16 weeks, but by the time you start working on projects, and if we're going to add the time that you would spend during the internship, it would most likely run into 20 to 24 weeks, thereabouts. Please, may I know if the interaction session with the tutor is based on schedule? Yes, so the ones that are, yeah, so all the sessions are based on a particular schedule, and the core one is the one that you have with your tutor. So classes hold twice in a week. That's main classes where you have to attempt your daily challenge questions, attempt your daily task, have live sessions with your tutors. This would just twice in a week. But outside of these two main times that you have to be present in class, either offline or online, we also have different other sessions, about 3 of them. So we have one which is the guest session, what we do during guest sessions, and this is usually on days different from the normal class because we can't possibly ram everything up into just 2 days. So for guest session, what we do is we invite industry experts, people from top tech companies in the space, to speak with you generally on their journey into the industry, and also based on a particular topic. So in the past, we've had people from InterSwitch, we've had people from Cowrywise, we've had people from Andela come to speak with people. So most of them come into the space to speak with you. They project their screen, trash out your questions, and while some of them also join us online. Then there's also the AMA session, like I said earlier, that's usually with the teaching assistant. So the teaching assistant is required to come at least twice in a month offline. So for each track, you have a number of teaching assistants. Currently for software engineering, because there are a lot of them in class, about 33 people for the current cohort, we have 3 teaching assistants. So each of these teaching assistants is required to come twice offline in a month. So that means for software engineering, they currently have at least 6 offline sessions with their teaching assistants. Data science, they have just 1 teaching assistant who is also required to come at least twice in a month. So those are the other extra sessions. Then we also have peer presentations. So for peer presentations, you choose a topic, we select trainees per week, depending on the dates. Every track has different days that they have their peer presentations, and these trainees at least twice per day come to class with a projector and they speak with their colleagues, share more like a knowledge sharing session. So I think that settles what the schedule is usually like. Is there an internship in Lekki phase 1? So the internships are, our internships are usually based on the particular companies. So what we do is we put out details to the companies in our pipeline. We share your details out with them. We usually group you so that we have diversity in the team, software engineers, UI UX designers, Android engineers, and then companies come to this platform and then select per team. So you might, the company that you get placed with might not necessarily be close to where you stay, but we try to, there's usually stipends that the employers are required to at least offer just to cover for transportation to and fro from the office during the time of the internship. Someone says, I'm more interested in software development course. How can I get more information on it? So if you visit accelerator.stutern.com, you will be able to get enough information. You should also be able to access the curriculum from the platform. As well as the PL being used, I believe this means platform. So like I said, HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and React.js, that's what we currently do. I would like to know what skills do I stand to gain. I'm not sure what track this person is referring to. Yes, does it mean that we'll be getting tutorial materials for the online class? Yes, so we created video lessons and slide lessons, and we currently use a platform called EduFlow. This is where you can access all the learning materials. So by the time you join the class, we provide you access to it, and per day there are schedules determining when you have to go on EduFlow and access these materials. After going through each learning resource, you're required to take a task. So it's important that you must have gone through the learning resources on EduFlow ahead of your live session with your tutor, so that you must have completed the task, and then you'll be able to flow with your tutor when it comes for the live session and also ask questions. Someone says, what if I have no experience at all with IT and I want to go into Android development? Is it possible? And what if I don't get a job immediately after the program? Will Stutern wait till I get employment, no matter how long, or there'll be interest I'll be paying? So let me first ask Let me first answer the part about no experience. So we do not require that you have experience to join any of the programs. It does not matter if you do not have any experience in the IT field, at least be able to operate a computer. That's all we need. And that's why at the application stage, there's a task that everyone has to complete. The task is more like a level playing field, such that whether you're coming in with no experience or you have some sort of experience, everybody has like an introductory angle before they then join the class fully. So you must have gone through, we provide basic learning resources to attempt the task. Then after attempting the task cannot end at perfection. It's just to see how fast you're able to learn, if you're actually committed to learning, and basically to at least give you introduction into what you'll be facing by the time you join the program. Then will students wait till you get a job? So yes, we do not come after you until you get a job. And if you're going through with any of the payment options that's different from the tuition fee, that means, so because we know that we don't get paid until you get paid, as much as we do not promise you a job, we try to do everything in our power to at least connect you with opportunities, connect you with our hiring partners, that's employment in our platform, so that at least almost immediately that you're done with the program, immediately you graduate, you have at least a couple offers, if not even offers, at least interview offers, such that you're on the path to getting a job. But we do not come after you until you get the job. We do not request for anything until you get the job. So that means we all have to work together to make sure that placements, the goal of placements is achieved. What days of the week are for classes? So like Kenny said, the days vary according to your track. So currently software engineering, their main classes run for Tuesdays and Thursdays, same for data science. Android runs on Mondays and Wednesdays. UIX runs on Wednesdays and Fridays. We are not sure yet if we'll be retaining this same schedule, but would inform you along the line. I have registered and I have been interviewed. When would the lecture begin? I believe we've answered this. So classes should start in May. Sorry, please can we mute our mics? I think that's Sophia. Please mute your mic. Thank you. So the classes should start in May with the offline approach. We usually start with a pre-course where we provide you with resources and you just go through the resources and then attempt a few tasks before the offline class. So at the moment, we do not know when the offline class will start until we're able to overcome the coronavirus pandemic. Is there going to be internship and how much are they going to pay? So yes, there will be internship. The internships are compulsory after the program and it runs between 2 weeks to a month after the program. It's a prerequisite for graduation and for how much they're going to pay. So the internships are targeted towards learning as opposed to earning. But we usually request that the employers at least provide stipends to cover for feeding during the period of the internship, feeding, transportation, and if it's going to be a remote internship, though we usually prefer offline or on-site internship so that you will not only be learning the tech skills, but you can also learn workplace skills. You can interact with other people in the office and all that. So we do not specify that the employers have to pay a particular amount. They just provide stipends to cover for your feeding, cover for your transportation. We were not added to any staff community for the task. Okay, so we should be able to set that up. Usually, once you apply, you should be added to the general channel on our Slack group. So we'll check that out after this call. Are there also resources you are to go through ahead of taking the task? Yes, there are resources. If you've applied, you should be able to find that there's a Dropbox document that we created. So it starts with the learning resources that you compulsorily have to go through that would ease your understanding before you now go ahead to take the task. And a beginner also join. Yes, I think I've answered that. I applied for UX design. I've completed my task and submitted, but I've not been interviewed. So we just started interviewing about 2 weeks ago, and we should get to you shortly as long as you've been able to complete your task and you submitted. About the task, the first 2 resources, I understand less than 5%, but that of Excel and description or statistics were not so complex. So like I said, we'll try to create the, provide a Slack group so that you can drop your questions as they come along. But aside, so you don't have to just go through the learning resources provided before the task just once. Try to go through it as many times as you're able to go through it, and just take your time to answer the questions. So the questions, like we said, are not aimed towards perfection. It's basically just to see your willingness to learn. How much are you able to go beyond the norm? How much are you able to go beyond the information provided you to provide a solution, basically? So it's not like we are looking for a perfect solution. I have a 9-to-5 that takes most of my time, and I have no laptop currently. Do I plan to get one? How can I make learning and Bagada possible during my off days? So for this, you would really have to own your learning. You need a laptop. That's a non-negotiable. You need a laptop. It's fine if you have a 9-to-5, but if I will be honest to you, we've noticed that people that have more commitments to the program tend to do better. So even if you have a 9-to-5, just try to make sure that when you get home, you are able to follow the schedule, follow the task, submit your, go through the learning resources, try to join the live session. So for the live sessions, we usually advise that if you're not able to make any of the other sessions, at least make the live session. But in the event that you're not able to make it, there's always a recorded version that we provide before the next class, and we upload that on YouTube. So you have to go on YouTube and sit with it, watch it as many times as possible until you're able to decipher the information you need for it. And it's an open community. Slack is what we use for communication. So for any question that you have, we usually advise that you are open to asking questions. Do not just sit back and try to battle your questions on your own. That is why you have a community. Come on Slack and ask your questions. And for some people that are shy to ask questions, there's an anonymous bot who would introduce you to that when you join the class. There's an anonymous bot that you can post your questions anonymously and they will get answered. So for your off days, but the space at Bagada is open Monday to Friday, 9-to-5. You are allowed to come in anytime when you are off, regardless of whether you chose the offline option or the online option. Is there a scholarship for the next set? I do not exactly have an answer to this right now, but we usually work with some partners to obtain scholarships, and we'll try to do that as well for this set. Like Sophia asks, what's the fate of a beginner that is just switching to IT? Okay, so I have answered that as well. For the person that I applied for UIX design, so I'll just advise that you go back to the learning resources. The tasks are not so complicated, and like I said, they're not aimed towards perfection. Go back to the learning resources, go through them as much as possible. If possible, use them as a guide. Go to Google and try to access more learning resources and try to attempt the task over again. And we'd also try to open the Slack group so that you can drop your questions. What if the payment I go for is an installment, but maybe after 2 months can't meet up? So like we have said, you have 2 options. It's either you break it down in installments over the 4 months period of the program, or you choose the enrollment fee option, or you choose the full tuition option. So in the event that you took the instrumental payment option and you are now unable to meet up, what would have to have that conversation after, and what would most likely refer you to do is switch to the enrollment fee option, which is the income sharing agreement. So say maybe you've paid 240 out of the, say, 450 since you're going for installment. We will then have to come up with a new plan. Maybe you will then be paying for, say, 12 months after you graduate, or maybe to just be 10%. I'm not sure what that would be, but that would be a discussion that would have to have with you after. So yes. Can I still join the next batch? Yes, by all means. Please just access the application from accelerator.stutern.com.
So someone asked that I think there should be a finishing line though. I mean, I could earn I and probably altogether pay around 600K. That sounds exorbitant. Okay, so I know how you feel, but at the same time, for us, we are sort of the ones even taking the most risk, because you might get a job and you might not get a job. As much as more than 95% of our graduates at least get a job, but there's still that risk that you might not get a job. So we are the ones taking the risk. And the way income sharing agreements work is there is no cap fee. It's based on the percentage and the duration that has been earlier agreed. So you might pay, that's why there's a percentage such that it's equal for everyone, regardless of how much you're earning. It's an equal approach because it's percentage based, and so there's no cap fee. But
Yeah,
for
let me add to
some,
that, Okoye.
okay, thank you.
Thanks. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, we're excited if someone hands about that amount of money. So, and I think that could also leave a person with the option of just even paying the entire amount, just instead of paying over the next 24 months, for example. So I think that is what might be applicable in that instance. If the person has the ability to, it's okay, I would love to pay my rest of my ISA within the next 2 months, so we can divide it together and the person can pay fully. So I think that has been applied in the past. So we can come up with a calculation together, making sure it's transparent, and we can make that possible with that instance. Yeah. So, Opa, do you want to go on, or should I help with the other questions?
Yes, thanks, Kenny. I think I'll
Okay.
just go on. So
Okay,
after
please
I
go.
get placed for a job, could I decide to pay the full tuition at once or more than 50% of my salary? So I think that's similar to the question that we just answered. So once you go through with the enrollment fee option, the full tuition does not apply anymore. But what we can do is, if you now have the capacity to pay within a shorter period, we will then calculate how much you would have been paying if you had followed through with the whole income sharing agreement, and try to come up with a figure that would suit both student as the faculty, and also suit you as well, maybe give you some months off or give you a particular percent off. Someone said I sent my questions through mail while registering for this interview, so will it be answered here? So we cannot, I'm not sure if we'll be able to switch between mails and yeah, if you could please type it here again, or in the event that you're unable to, once we get off this call, we would access our mails and answer them in due time. Someone is asking also, Adobe XD does not allow you save offline starting from this month, and also it doesn't have real-time collaboration like Figma. I think we should have the option of choosing a tool you're comfortable with. So yes, that's a new development from Adobe XD, and like we said, the current class is yet to be over, and before we start the new class, we'll be reviewing some things, and that includes some of the tools that we're currently using. So what we just told you is what we currently use. We currently use Adobe XD. Well, if you will be working on your project, we give you free will to use whatever platforms that you find more comfortable. If you have access to Sketch, if you have access to InVision, that's no problem. But for the class, while we are learning with the tutor, at the moment we use Adobe XD. We'll probably be reviewing them with this new development for this new class. But at the moment for 0.7, what they use is Adobe XD. But you're free to use whatever other tools that you're comfortable with while you're working on your project. Please, can you make the video into a YouTube video so I can watch later? Oh yeah, so we can provide a recorded version on our YouTube channel, and we'll just share a link after the call is over. So that should be ready, say maybe Monday. Please, how do you decide what track someone applied for is the best track for him or her? So we do not decide what track is best for you at this point. So what we just try to do is provide you with the resources to at least make a better informed decision based on what your career trajectory is or what your interest is. We let you know what the different tracks entails, what the opportunities are, what they entail, and then you go back and also do your groundwork, do some sort of research, and then decide what track you think best applies to you, also based on your personality. Someone said I missed some of the session of the.
Sorry to cut you short. Please,
Okay.
at what point do you get to do that? At what point do you get to check the track that's best for anyone? Think.
At what point does who get to do that?
Like, at what point do you get to?
Sorry, Manuel, I didn't quite get your question.
Okay, can you?
Okay, I think I got the question, Emmanuel. Yeah, so Emmanuel, just to rephrase, please let me know if this is right. You're asking at what point do we tend to determine if this track is right for the person or not? Is that perfect?
Yes, okay, that's the question.
Thanks, Emmanuel. Okay, is that clear?
No, can you go over that again?
Okay, at what point? Okay, go for it, Emmanuel. Please go for it.
Okay, is he asking at what point do they get to decide which track they would like to go for?
Yes, so the question is at what point do we advise that this is a track we think you should go for based on your performance on the test? Is that clear?
Oh, okay. So at the point of application, there we try to provide like an overview of what each course entails. So from that, you should be able to pick whatever course you're interested in. But after you apply and submit your task, if we feel that it's not up to par and we think that you can do better in other fields, maybe based on the resume that you provided or such, we can then reach out to you either via mail or via a call and try to find out what your other interests are and also provide additional information on the other tracks. Really, it's really just your choice. What we just try to do is provide you resources so you have in-depth knowledge of what each track entails, and then you make your choice yourself.
Yeah, just to add to that again, okay, thanks. Yeah, Emmanuel, good question. So like Okoye rightly said, it's what you apply to, but also when we realize that you could be a better fit, maybe based on your application, number one, maybe based on your resume, number two, maybe based on the things we've also discovered about you, where we checked in your profile, for example, maybe based on your resume or the answers you've given to the form. At that point in time, we could advise that maybe this would be a better option for you, but it's still, you have the autonomy to choose whatever track you want to choose. And because this track definitely would be a career way up for you. Thanks.
All right, thanks for that, Kelly. Emmanuel, has that answered your question?
Yes, it does. Thank you very much.
Awesome, thank you. So someone is asking, I already
I think we lost quite a bit. So just to continue with that.
Oh, so sorry. I didn't realize I was muted.
Yeah,
but yes, Kay, please, you can go on from Mani's question. I think we've answered all the previous one.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, so we 1 hour to the call, so we will try to pick questions that haven't been repeated so we can actually round up on time. So we have 69 more messages. A few of those will be questions, but I'm hoping we can just pick the unique questions that we can go through together. So is this program for graduates only alone? At this point, I mean, we wish it's for everybody, to be honest, because this is part of a much bigger problem to solve. But at this point, it's only for graduate because those are the people who we can work with without going to confirm if they can speak the language the employer wants in terms of English language, for example. Those are people we can speak with, making sure they pass some basic tests, for example. So that's why it's only for graduates only at this point. We wish we can do more than this, but at this point, it's only for graduate. How often is your remote internship given, considering the fact that I'm employed but want a career transition? Remote internship is typically the option of the choice of the employer, even though we do not really encourage that, because as an intern, is for this particular role, it's good to also get the buy-in and the support of the entire team of the company you might be working with, So we typically even advise you to go for a physical internship or a job itself. And maybe much later in life, in like the next 1 year or two, then you've gained the experience of even working in a team. Then the team can even trust that you can perform well, not just based on the skill, communication wise, relationship wise, and other things that are all put together into making this possible. Please, I think most of us prefer the offline classes. I hope they lock down. Yeah, this will be soon. I finished the task, but I haven't called yet. I hope I will take this up. We are making sure we call everybody. We have a place where we track all these. Thanks, Easy. Cheesy. Can this program be combined with a full-time work employment? Really, it's difficult to make that happen. We see some people do it, but we don't really advise it, to be honest, because except you can give your all, making sure you finish the project. For example, you are not submitting anything late, you're able to go back on the feedback given. So we really don't advise that. So we're looking for the next unique questions. The questions
Sorry,
about
Kenny,
the
I also
webinar being on
wanted to
YouTube.
add.
Yeah. Okay, please go ahead.
Kenny.
Oh, so I also wanted to add for that person asking about full-time opportunity, having a full-time job. So also because of the extra sessions that hold outside of class days, and all this add up to your general metric score. That's the AMA session, guest session, peer presentation. So it's important that you also attend that because the different insights that you also be gaining from that. So as long as you're able to meet up with each of those schedules. So outside of class days, all these other extra sessions only run for about 1 to 2 hours for all those other days. So as long as you're able to meet up with all this as well, that might also work. But if you're not able to, it might be a tad difficult.
Thanks, Opoyemi. So any questions about installation of softwares? We can find these online, but if not, we always happy. Please send us a mail personally about that, and we will do our best to help you with the right resources for that. So someone asked about not being able to install Adobe XD, which is a tool for UI UX designers at this point. Someone asked their link to register. Please share their link to register for the class on this Zoom call. Yeah, thanks. Hope I'm not restricted to work in Nigeria alone. I'm saying this as regards to income sharing agreements. Yeah, you're allowed to work anywhere. We've had people who have gone to work in different countries, and this is still working well for them. For the software engineering stack, what is the stack used in training? So for the last one, I believe it's the Node.js that was used in the training, for example, and React as well for the front end, and then the back end being Node.js used in the training. And that's what is being used for software engineering stack. But we can provide more detail about that once you enroll for this or even before then. Please send us a mail about that. Thank you. So going to the next one. So any question around needing support for the task, please, when you're on the Slack channel, if you haven't even had it yet, we're gonna add you, please, we can attend to all those there. So we always happy to provide the support you need, even from the task level.
So, someone was asking that he already got admitted maybe for one of the previous calls, but wasn't able to make the payment, and will he have to start all over again from the beginning? If we could address that.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, that's a good question. So typically in the past, the way we've handled it is people would just have to apply again from the onset for us to, because one it could be because the stack of learning has changed. So we are testing it for something entirely different. So that could be the case. And sometimes we actually defer the offer, whereby the person applied, then we're actually able to defer the offer and tell you at this point in time, you can join the class later. So that also applies as well. So I'm not sure there's any new question at this point. Okay, anything we missed, so we can round this up and then we all can enjoy the rest of our weekend.
Mic check.
Okay.
Mic check. Please go
There
ahead.
is a question about someone who is already skilled in front-end and back-end technology. If there is an internship for such a person, any suggestions?
Oh, okay. So it's a question. Thanks. Thanks. It's a question about just an internship and not a training. In this case, just an internship for such a person who does not need to be trained. Is that a question? Okay, I believe that's a question. And if that's not the case, please let us know. Yeah, if the person needs placement, the person can apply there. I'll just share the link here. We have a placement platform where we have employers looking to actively employ people. So the person can apply through that link. So at this point, if they didn't get a call for the interview, then we'll send them a mail. If they didn't get a call for the interview, we always send a mail, either a yes or a no, for anyone who didn't get in or gets into the class. I hope that answers the question, Cheesy. So at this point, it seems. Okay.
1 second. It looks like some people's ends are still up. Muiwa and Kola Yakub. If you still have, do you still have questions, Muiwa and Kola Yakub? If you still have questions, just raise your hands, and then you can then ask your questions.
And thanks, T. What if they didn't get to call you for the interview? Does it mean that you can apply? Yes, thanks. From experience, I didn't get a yes or a no mail. Oh, really? We actually do send a yes or a no mail to anyone. So possibly we've missed out, but we do our best to get that done. So for any other questions, please keep them coming as we round up the call. But the takeaway would be that we're always happy to welcome any learner to the class. The goal and the joy is to see you transition from being a learner from SGA to actually learn how to learn and see that continue even while you're on the job. And that has been the case for many of the people whose faces you've seen on the deck today. From whatever background, some people didn't even study any course pertaining to what they're doing, for example, but it's all about the community. It's all about the drive as well that you're giving to this itself that makes a difference. So someone says you have no experience, no knowledge, and can I start from the scratch? Yes, you can start from the scratch, but we encourage you to comment online by going to resources available online. And if you check the task as well, which is also full of resources that it can also help you learn, that would also be a good consideration for us.
Thanks, Kenny.
Yeah, please, if you can round up the call now.
Yeah, we'll do that.
If there are no other questions. Thank you all. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you, Kende. So the next step for us will be that we would send you a link to a Slack channel for communication purposes so that you can at least get your questions answered in real time. And you can also always put a call through or drop a mail. And then we'd also provide a link to this recorded version so that you can watch. And for some people that are just asking some questions, some of those questions have gotten answered before, so you can watch over and get your questions answered. So thanks for joining in. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Please stay safe.